Speech is the vocalized form of communication. And in the English language, and I assume with most other languages, there are many words within the vocabulary to describe the content and the manner of speech. One can lecture, one can verbalize, one can utter, one can spill the beans, one can mouth, one can inform, articulate, chat, communicate, confess, converse, describe, express, divulge, gossip, notify, reveal, say, tell, all of which have their own particular nuance within the English language. In sharp contrast, throughout the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, we are limited to basically 4 shrashim that connote communication between one entity and another. They are Aleph Mem Resh, Dalet Bet Resh, Yud Gimel Dalet, and Samach Pei Resh. In majority of these situations, the translators take a somewhat path of least resistance in offering say, speak, inform, retell, respectively, whenever these 4 shirashim are used, without delving into the nuances that might result from the context of their use. Aleph Mem Resh is used 1168 times in the Chumash, beginning with in Breshit, Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or Vayehi Or. Dalet Bet Resh 640 times, for the first time Vayedaber Elokim El Noach Leimor. Furthermore, Aleph Mem Resh and Dalet Bet Resh are very often used interchangeably in terms of translation. Yud Gimel Dalet less than 30 times, the first in Bereshit 9, following the flood, Samach Pei Resh, in the context of retelling something, a sipur, also less than 30 times, the first instance in Bereshit 24, where the Eved Eliezer relates to Yitzchak, et kol hadvarim asher asa. There are attempts to distinguish between Aleph Mem Resh and Dalet Bet Resh amongst the Mefarshi Chumash based upon the Gemara, that Dalet Bet Resh is a type of speech that has a degree of harshness and urgency, sometimes involving a greater degree of focus than the Aleph Mem Resh. The Rebbe in the Sikha, in building a justification for the position of the Gemara and Rashi, that Bikesh Yaakov legalat et haketz, but v'nistalka mimeno shchina, there was a departure of the shchina, turns to the Kabbalah and Chassidut to firstly define the differences between 3 terms, Aleph Mem Resh, Dalet Bet Resh, and Yud Gimel Dalet, and with this information provide a justification for linking the Achrit HaYamim to the timing of the Yemot HaMashiach. Worth noting the heading that Rashi has for this commentary. Drawing upon the Zohar, the Rebbe suggests that the 3 shorashim used to describe speech are linked to the quality and intensity of that communication relative to the individual or entity that is the source of the communication. In the Zoharic model, we have a continuum beginning with a superficial level of communication described as peh. A more internal form of speech is Dalet Bet Resh, in which the emotions and feelings of the individual are embedded in the speech to others, and the most intense, the most inner form of communication, Milin de Chuchmata, is expressed with a Yud Gimel Daled Shoresh. By way of example, all 3 levels are linked into the degree of trust that one ascribes to the sincerity of the individual. For example, the lowest level on the continuum, you have individuals who, in the words of the Gemara, echad b'peh ve'echad b'alev, what they know is not necessarily reflected in what they say, and in the marketplace, it's buyer beware. A higher standard of speech is expected of our politicians. They can't afford to blatantly lie. What they say must reflect their beliefs. To this level, the Dalet Bet Resh Shoresh is used. But of course, politicians make promises and we expect those promises to be broken. When it comes to matters involving the health of an individual, for example, or for that matter where professional advice is sought, society has no tolerance for those who mislead. The Yud Gimel Daled reflects not just one's personal belief, but also Milin de Chuchmata, the highest levels of knowledge and awareness. This, of course, does not suggest that all 2,000 instances that Aleph Mem Resh and Dalet Bet Resh are used throughout the Chumash must follow this model. What we can do, however, is that the Zoharic suggestion to explain the differences between these 2 terms is one of a number of options, and can and should be used, where applicable, to overcome the hurdles of translating a text, for which in English there are about 20 nuanced words for communication, whereas in the original text we have 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4.